Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing today? It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina. I am Bobby Davis, the founder and CEO of Coder Foundry and Cortex, where we build software for a lot of people around the country. I'm here joined by Kevin Doyle. We're still in lockdown. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. So today's our third day of coding live.
It is. That's awesome. Big day today, too.
It started out as one.
It did. We're like, we'll do it in a day. And then it's like, we're on day 3. And it's a big day today, too. You know what today is?
What's that?
It's May the 4th.
May the 4th. Yes.
So it's a big Star Wars day for all the Star Wars nerds out there.
Yeah. So like, I'm feeling bad because I bought Rise of Skywalker on Amazon, and now they shoved it to Disney, and I'm like, man, I want a refund.
Right? Would you pay $20 for that?
$20 to watch part of it.
Oh well. Well, now you can watch it on Disney Plus all you like.
I can watch it Disney Plus all I want. So, all right, cool. We got a couple of questions for some people here.
We do.
And then we'll get the coding.
Yeah, we'll do the coding part here in a minute. I just wanted to say, like, hey to everybody, and thanks for coming by again with us. This is awesome. Thanks for checking us out again. And for those that are here for the first time, thanks for coming for the first time. There's 2 more previous days of this, too, if you haven't already seen it. So you can go back and watch those on our channel. But yeah, this is cool. Dracket here said he spent last week learning HTML, this week CSS, next week JavaScript. So it's a good primer to get going. And that's a good way to do it. A week of HTML, a week of CSS is enough.
Yeah. And get through some JavaScript, learn some Bootstrap. That's cool, Dracula.
Exactly. Yeah. You never thought you'd say that, did you, on here? That's cool, Dracula.
Hey, Dracula, what's up?
That's cool.
I'm still not going to invite you into my house. So,
You're nice, but not that nice.
Yeah.
Wilfredo Perez here. Again, another learner, learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, C#. Says he liked that you just made something out of an idea. Coding is an art. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, we just come up with ideas and then try to put a software system on it. So that's kind of what we do as programmers. So that's kind of cool. Yeah,
definitely. And Adam, welcome back, Adam, just said
Adam,
that the C# bundle on Humble Bundle is still out there. And you can find that pretty easily. If you just go to humblebundle.com, I think it's .com, just Google Humble Bundle. It's on their front page. You can see it as C# bundle, which is good. One of the books we recommended last week is in that bundle. And it's cheaper for the bundle than it is for the single book on Amazon.
Right.
So such a good deal. Right. You should definitely go get it.
And just tell you that's not our affiliate link. So like, we want you to go get the best deal possible.
Not. Just go get it.
Just go get it. That's a good deal. So
definitely.
All right.
One other thing before we get going then. We've had one submission so far of this project.
Yes. We got it over the weekend.
Umesh Krishna sent it in. So he is a budding coder from Bangalore, India. He sent it in. I don't know if you're here, Umesh, or if you're one of these guys here with a different name, maybe. I don't know. If you are, let us know in the comments. That'd be super cool. But he sent it in. He recreated it and did a super good job and added some stuff.
He did. Yeah, and he actually found a bug in my HTML that I'm actually going to incorporate his idea into.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Get started.
Awesome. That's super good. So we've had one in so far. I know that Mark's working on one too. So we may get his in as well. So we'll probably show those tomorrow. We'll probably do that and do that. And Mark's asking, how do I make a submission? So send us a link to this email address, info@coderfoundry.com, and we will take a look at it. So if you want to put a submission in for us to have a look at it, probably tomorrow. Drop us an email there.
And if you add something to it or change the logo, you don't have to copy it exactly.
No.
We're just, if you have super cat events.
That works too.
It works.
Doesn't even have to be event-based. As long as it talks about the original challenge of showing the math functions within an array, that's what we're really looking for. So change it up. Do whatever you want with it.
But if you want to use our data by default, and we're going to give you the data out today where you can go easily copy it down.
Yep.
So I've got a whole mini site for SuperDog events.
Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about that at the end?
Yeah, we'll talk about it real quick here. So let me share my screen, and let's talk about it. So if you you got it on there.
Yep.
So this is our mini site, which we have several of these now, but this is SuperDog Events. And you actually can find it at SuperDog Events. So this is run out of debugger. Events.coderfoundry.com.
And I've put it down there at the bottom too.
Yeah.
So
that's SuperBog.
SuperBog's a whole other site.
Yeah, it's a whole new one. I'm working on SuperBog. It's not out yet. So like here you can you click on the challenge link here on our event, and then this is the data right here that you can cut and paste if you want to use it for your site that you're doing. This is kind of more of a detail around like kind of what we're kind of looking for. The homepage just shows our app here, and so it's got the data. So it's kind of cool. And then also you can click here and get the code, and this takes you to our public GitHub portfolio, or our GitHub site for this particular SuperDog events.
So please go get it, fork it, play with it, whatever you want to do with it. Make your own version of it. That'd be awesome.
And you can go out here to Coder Foundry, and there's a bunch of stuff out here that we've put out here over the years.
We do have some others for other challenges we've done too. You can go to fizzbuzz.coderfoundry.com is another one, and then notary.coderfoundry.com is another one too. And we'll probably show you those tomorrow as well. Just other things.
0 hours out there. I don't have a microsite for 0 hour. Probably should put that up. Our C# Hero Search and Marvel API. So there's several of them out here that you can go look at and learn, hopefully. So on GitHub. All right,
awesome.
Cool.
So which part of this are we doing today? We're wrapping this up, maybe?
So we're going to wrap this up, hopefully. If we get started here, quit chatting, get to work. We're going to add this bottom half here. So if we look at where we're at today, this is where we left off, and that it doesn't have the add button or showing the data. So we're going to do that. And then so you'll be able to click here and add a new event in. And then a feature that we're added, we're actually going to store the data, all of this data in local storage, so that it'll survive on round trip. If you refresh or close your browser, the data will be pulled back in.
Cool.
So as you add new events, new cities, or whatever, this will get recognized down here.
And this is without having a database. This is without having SQL. Okay.
Yeah. So the local storage is like a giant cookie. You can think of it like that. Except you can put complex objects in it, like the data set that we have here.
Awesome. I'm excited to learn that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Pretty easy. So that's what we're going to do. But first, let me get this off to the side here. We're going to fix our HTML. I'm going to show you what UMesh. I'm going to fix it on his recommendation. So like,
what did he suggest? This was a good idea.
Yeah. So like, if you can see this, what I'm doing is I'm squeezing the browser down. And so this is like one way you can simulate mobile, sort of. And you can see kind of what it's going to look like when you squeeze this down. And you can tell when you squeeze it way down, this doesn't work so good. Right. And so like what needs to happen is that this needs to stack up and have the logo on top and this on the bottom. And so it'll like look better in mobile. So the other thing that you can do in here is you also can open up your developer tools in Chrome. If you haven't done that, and then you can pick like how it would look like on a different mobile device. And you can see
those are very specific, aren't they, too? They're like very specific to the device, which is interesting.
Yeah. So so we're going to fix that to make it look better. So if we did an iPhone X, it's just it doesn't stack where you think you want it to stack on top.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool. So we'll get that back.
And how are we going to fix that?
So we're going to use Bootstrap to fix it.
Sweet.
So let's get to work on fixing that. So that's kind of cool, I think, anyway. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go over here to my HTML, and I'm going to look at this column here. So do you remember I have two columns in here? One is holding the data or the stats, and one's holding this logo. Okay. So the first fix we're going to make is I'm going to change this to column -sm-6. What that means is is that when I'm at the small breakpoint, I want this to stack. Okay. So I'm at the small breakpoint. I want them to stack. If I'm on a medium breakpoint, like an iPad or something forward, I want it to go side by side. When I didn't have this in here, it would always attempt to make them side by side and just scale the image down. And that doesn't really work. On mobile, you need to sometimes program it so that it works better. So like I'm going to save this and just show you kind of the result here. We hope anyway, if I did it correctly. Pull it over here, we'll look at it. Ad hoc demo right now, man. I'm hoping this works. So like, so now you can see it pushed it down on the bottom.
Okay.
Okay. So like,
so it stacked it, but probably not where we want it to get stacked, right?
It didn't stack where I wanted it, but it did stack it, and you can see how this looks a whole lot better on mobile.
Yep.
So
this is something to do with like an inherent order then, because the row moves left to right, so it stacks them left to right by default.
Right. So basically how you type it in the browser, if you look at these two columns, is that it orders from top to down. So it says the first element that it sees, and then it'll stack that one second because it's in line. It's the second one.
Okay. So this is not as simple though as just moving that column above the other one, right?
I could,
because then the logo would appear on the left though, right?
Exactly. And I didn't want that. I wanted it on the right, so like it was by design to do that. So now I need to make sure that my design works on mobile.
Okay.
And so this is super easy to do. So I think it is anyway. So let me put it out here first. All right. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to create this to say order dash first. Okay.
Ooh,
now all that means is that and you got to, here's the trick. So Bootstrap being mobile first design. Okay. So it's rendering from the mobile up to the larger desktop, like to your desktop, like a 4K monitor or whatever. It's going to say order first. And so it's going to always push this one first, regardless of how it's done. Okay. Well, that's not what I want. I want it to be order dash MD dash 2. And so what I'm going to say is when I'm small first, if it's bigger than small, order it second. So
wow.
That's how that works. And then I just leave this one alone. And I think I killed the browser, but let me look here. Get up here. Okay, so now if I bring this over here and save it, it should order correctly. And watch what happens. So it's going to see it as switched.
Yeah,
it's switched, and it's going to stack like it should.
Okay.
And Umesh is the one that called us out on this. And then you can see when it gets bigger, it flips over to the right.
So okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's very cool. I like that. That was a good idea. That's a good addition. I like that.
Yeah. So I didn't notice it until he called me out. And I'm like, yeah.
And we'll talk about something else he added on his tomorrow too. He added another idea, which we're not going to implement, but he added something else too, which is cool. We'll show his tomorrow.
We're going to give his ideas out tomorrow when we show his site. All right. So the next thing that we need to do now is we need to add some data in here. So like if you look down here, we have this column that's empty. Remember how we in the very beginning on day one, we just kind of sketched out our columns. And so we have this column 12 here. So I'm going to follow my same rule here. I'm just going to go ahead and change it to column 12. But it doesn't matter since there's only one. But that's what we're going to do to be consistent. So the next thing I need to do is kind of add in like a button and a my data grid, which shows the data that I want on here. So so I think that's the first thing we do. So the first thing I need to do is add a little add button here, and then we're going to turn the add button into a modal. And but first we'll just add the button as a placeholder, and I think that's pretty much all we need to do. So without further ado, let's add a button. So I'm just going to say button, and So I've got a button here, and then I need to add some more classes to it. And I'm going to give it a type equals button. Quotes in here. My keyboard is better this time around, Kevin. I'm getting better at it.
We got a new one. You got a trackpad and the Big Apple keyboard. So
the Big Apple keyboard has a backspace key. So
you've been missing it, dreaming about the backspace key.
Yeah. So again, I'm making the class the button, which will style this as a button, and then it'll put the button secondary, which basically changes its color to that light gray. Okay.
Okay.
And hits that out. So so that's all I need to do, and I'm going to add a I'm going to say add data for right now. Save, and then if I go over here, you can see we just added a button on the page. So I'm going to go that, and we'll get it moving quick here. So if I pull this over, you can see now that we've got our button here.
Cool.
Okay. So next thing we want to do is add the actual data, and then we'll go on from there and we'll add the data in. Okay, cool. So the next thing I need to do is I'm going to do something a little bit, a new thing in HTML, or something new to me that I did. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my table in here. So our table is going to support, just like we did up there, that's adding our data. And I remember we use div for layout, but if we're displaying data, we're going to use the table in HTML. And I'm going to give it a table class and something called table striped, which is just the so that every other row is kind of colored. One's dark, one's light.
That's like what we did at the top, right? Yeah, we did use that same thing at the top.
All right. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and give it an ID because I know that I'm going to be referencing this. I called it event data. Okay. So as you know, too, in these, each one of these is going to have a head tag, and it's going to have a body tag. So I'm going to go ahead and put the head in here. And I'm actually going to put the T-body in here too as well. And so I'm going to actually use this T-body today. And you're going to see why I always put T-bodies in here today. So I'm going to call that event body, because I'm actually going to reference this in JavaScript here in a second.
Okay.
This is kind of like your base way you lay tables out. And especially when you're using templating, which we're going to do. So I've got a handle to my table and a handle to my header in here. If you wanted to like dynamically change the head, you would put an event heading up here if you want to, but we're not going to do that. We already know kind of what it's going to be. The columns are. So again, these are THs. And so, and then all I'm going to do is give it a name, the name in here. Event name. So this is going to hold the event name, and I'm going to just paste these in here. Oops. Then the next one's going to be like city, state, zip. You're coding along, just keep doing it like Umesh did. I think he did it pretty well. And you can imagine what the other ones are. And so it's just attendance and event date. I'll get there, man. A couple of years from now, I'll be good at it.
You'll be good with the keyboard.
Yeah. So now we have this, which is just our headers. And so just real quick here, and see now kind of what's going on. So now we have this event.
Okay.
Thing up here. We do need to make that dark though. So let's do that. Let's do that real quick. So we can just basically come in here, and in our head tag here is just give it a class. It's going to be T-head dark.
Okay, and that's another Bootstrap class.
Yeah. And if you look real quick, and I pull it over here, See what it did now. So now it's
okay,
styled up,
cool.
looking kind of good.
Yep.
So
that's cool because it reverses the color of the text
automatically for you. So you don't have to worry about the font color and then the background color, which you can do all of this by hand. You can,
right.
and you can make your own T-head color, whatever you want. And so if you wanted some kind of like different gray, then you can override this if you want to, or just make your own class. But you could look up the T-head dark in the Bootstrap CSS and then copy it and then change it, however you want to do it. All right, so let's get on to like something cool here. Let's actually make some data work. All right, so one of the things that I put in here, because this doesn't get rendered, I always say, always put a placeholder in here with a comment, just so that I can, if I'm like inspecting the HTML, I can find it.
Okay.
It's just something I do. I don't know. It's not necessary, but yeah, something I just made up and did. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a bunch of table rows in here dynamically through JavaScript. But this is where it gets kind of cool, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to come to the end of this page. Okay, and then I'm going to do a new tag here, and this is called the template tag inside of HTML. Now, what a template tag does is it will inspect the HTML, but it will not render the HTML that's in it. So you can go ahead and code up your templates, your HTML editor here, and you don't have to worry about it not working. So I think this is far superior than trying to type HTML using template literals even in the JavaScript back then. So like it's just easier to do because you're used to doing HTML this way. So I'm just going to make a TR. And again, this doesn't get rendered, and it's just text that I can pull out and then use over and over again. And I'm going to give this a TD. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste these, change them. And so I'm going to make event, city, state, attendance, and date. City. And so now these are TDs, and I'm going to be able to grab these from JavaScript. And you can call these IDs whatever you want. And I'm going to go ahead and call this event date, because I was kind of worried about like if date being a keyword. So
okay,
I've been okay, but I just have a weird bug on that. And so I just stick that anywhere I want in my HTML document, and it won't get rendered. So what I'm going to do is from JavaScript, I'm going to pull this out and in a loop go over and over and over and display our data. And that's how you do templating inside of JavaScript, really modern templating. Even though I did it a different way above in the previous, and there was reasons I did it the other way, but I also wanted to show you both ways it works. So when it's very kind of like uniform, this works great because I know that I'm going to pound this out over and over again. So, all right. So let's go to our SuperDog JS. Okay. And so the one thing that we need is a function that does this. And so we're going to call that display data. And so I'm going to write a function called display data. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down here and just make a new function here. Just remember, that's your syntax for creating a function. Of course, you can have parameters. This doesn't have any. So I'm going to make a constant, and then this thing is going to be the template, right? And it's going to equal document get element by ID. Then if you remember what I called it event data dash template. I called it whatever I wanted, but I made sure that the name is something that I want.
So that's pulling in that HTML template you've created into here, and putting it into a constant called template.
And it's getting the handle of this.
Okay.
All of this. All right. And then I created another one and I called it event body. And I did the same kind of thing, and I got the element ID by, you'll see why I did this in a second. And I called that one event body. So now I've got these two things in here. So now if you look over here real quick, what did I do wrong? I called it something else. We'll just keep going. All right, I want to show you something else real quick. I may not need to do that. So, or I may come back and change it. All right. So I'm going to set the event body. Oh, I know. I'm confused. I'm looking at the template. So event body was my table tag up here. So up in my table is this. So I've got a handle to this. This is my target, and this is my template. So that's all it was. So doing this live, you look at stuff and panicking like.
I think you name your functions wrong actually too. You've got display date, not display data.
Right now. So I'm going to reset this every time this is called. I want to reset it to empty string. Okay. The reason is as I add new data and I add a new row, this will get called again. I want to rebind to the current data set. And if I don't do this, it would just like append it over and over again. Okay. So you would end up this growing data set, which really doesn't represent your data set, but display wise, it would be wrong. So you have to clear the table first before you write to it. That's all that does, is it clears the table. All right. So now what we need to do is get some current events. Okay. And so what I wanted to do, one of the things that I ran into is like, I want to be able to store data, and I want to add a row, but if I refresh the page, it would disappear because if you go to the top of this thing, let me go, it's backwards on the mouse. This data is in memory. And so what I want to do is I want to like store it, and I'm going to use local storage to store it. All right. So this is how you do that. I'm going to create a variable called current events, or, and this is just our current data, our current Comic-Con events. Okay. And check this out. It's JSON.parse. Okay. Cause it's going to come back. And then I'm going to call something called local storage get item. And get item is going to go something that I must know the name of, which I'm going to just call it this events array. And that's what I'm going to call it. So every time I reference this, I'm going to get this from local storage. Now, local storage is like cookies, except you can store complex objects in it up to 5 meg. Cookies only have name value pairs. So this allows us to store complex objects like our data set in local storage, which means that as you refresh the page, it's going to go here to get it instead of from the document. So it'll stay around. It's not volatile. Then I'm going to put an OR statement in here. And this is something you may not have thought of, but if it doesn't find anything, this would come back as null. And then I'm trying to do stuff on null and it would break. So what I want to do is say, if you don't find anything, just give me an empty array. So the way OR statements work, if the first part of this is true, then return it or get the second thing. And a null item is a falsie. So if it comes back null, it'll say that's false. That's why that works.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Mark has a point here, which you could probably explain to me. But you have to store the objects as a string/JSON.
Right.
What does that mean? Does that mean you can't store it as? What are the limitations with that?
I'm going to show him how to do it right now. So I haven't got that far yet. So I'm going to show you how to store it right now, Mark. All right. So like right now, this is just the pullback. Okay. What we're going to do is also store them too. So let's say that the first time through, we haven't stored in local storage and this comes back as an empty array. We need to like put the current stuff in there. All right, so I wrote a quick if statement, and then I'm going to say current events dot length. If it's, I just checked it. You could do this a number of ways, and if it equals 0, so if the length of that array is 0, do some stuff. All right, and so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to set my current events equal to the events. And so if you've been paying attention the last 3 days, events is this variable up here that has our default data. That's what we're going to call default now.
Okay.
Okay. It's kind of cool. Let me get down to the back to the bottom here. Sorry for the scrolling. I just wanted to show you that real quick so we can be on the same page. So then I can say local storage dot, and then this time instead of get, I'm going to set it. So I'm going to set item, and I have to use the exact same name spelled the exact same way, events array. Then I'm going to give it, this is where it's going. Now I got to give it what I want to set, and I call JSON stringify. And so this is what Mark was talking about, and this is how you set it. And I just pass it that array, so it's stored correctly in.
Okay.
Storage.
So is that formatting it then somehow?
Yes, so that it can be recognized inside local storage.
Okay.
And that's how you do it, and that's how you set an object of objects into local storage as a JSON array.
Okay. What's the character right there before JSON? What is that? That's it's your cursor. So I was just like, what is that? That didn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. So like, all right. So what we're doing here is, so that handles our local storage. And so like, that's the method for local storage. We still haven't got anything written to the page yet. So let's just do that real quick. So all we're going to do is use a simple for loop. Again, already start at 0. And I'm going to say I less than, and I'm going to use the current events because we now know that it's either all of them or the ones that you've customly added. And we'll go through that in a second. Length and I plus 1, I plus plus, I plus plus. That's our standard for loop. Okay. I need to change this to I. Then what I'm going to do is create another constant, and I'm going to call this event row. And this is where we're going to hit that that template. And there's some built-in functions that allow us to do this. So what I can do is I can use something called document again, but I'm going to use a new function called import node. And then I'm going to call it template dot content. And these are built in so that I can pull that back. And so that looks complicated, but basically I'm using a new function called import node. And this gets the nodes of the descendant. Okay. And I tell it where to, what I'm looking in, which is template, which is this thing right here, but the content section of it. Instead of like enter HTML or enter text, it gets the content. And so what it's going to do is pull back this right here, just this TR.
Okay, I see.
So it's template, event template dot content, and just pulls back the inner parts of it. So you can see, like when people talk about React and all these kind of templating systems that you get, vanilla JavaScript is also at the same time giving you things that you can do this with. It makes it pretty easy to do. Okay, so I've got my event row template, and I can call it, I can reference it, and what I can do is get element by ID inside that thing, and I'm going to say event. Now, so now this is the event row of that, and I'm going to set its text content equal to, and then I'm going to set it to my current events sub I, which is as I'm looping through this. And again, I get event because I used an object that has labels on it.
Okay.
Okay. So it's looping through that data set, and it's just pulling back the event column at the position that we're at and setting it equal to the current event row. All right. I need to do this 5 times for each one. 5, right? Yeah, it's 5. All right. Let me enter that, and then we just change the name here to city, and this will be about all we have to do.
Okay.
Get this to work, and that's all we do.
I think you're confusing Hermione here. I like this. It's funny.
Okay, we'll go over it again.
It just says newbie here, and it's upside down. I like that. It's cool.
Yeah. Got it. I understand that it looks a little bit confusing. Okay, and if you're here for day 3, a lot of stuff I'm doing may not make sense at all because we covered a lot of day 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But I'll go over this since someone's confused. And
maybe at some point too, just in the future, we'll throw all 3 of these videos together as one video and just push that out as well. It's probably a good idea.
So
we'll cut out us talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that I did also too is like dates are handled different in JavaScript. And so like I could put it in as just as a string, but then I couldn't control the formatting correctly. So I did this. I formatted the value coming out of the array, okay? And then I just formatted it, and it's called to local date string. See if I spelled that right.
You got an extra E in there.
Yeah. To local date string. I think I did that right.
I think you
said I had extra E.
To the right of your cursor, not now. Just hit backspace. Oh, you're there.
To local date.
LOCALE data string.
Yeah. To local date string. Yeah, it ends with an E. So,
does it?
Yeah. So like I know it's English, man. 2 ways.
Okay. Wow. Does it really?
There's 2 ways to spell everything. Right.
I understand the word locale, but that's a different word, right? Than local. That's
local.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So locale to a locale. All right. So event body, and now what I'm going to do is take the event body, which is our tag, out of the table, and I can use something called a pin child, and I can put my event row right in there, and this is it. That's it. So
you have one more typo on here somewhere too. Up in your constant.
Put this in the loop here.
Okay.
And all right, cool.
Up a little bit. There you go. Your constant for. If you go up a little bit more, there you go. There you go. For your template, your document is spelled wrong.
Sure enough. Thanks. I need you to sit over my shoulder. Hours.
I think Mark caught that one too.
Okay, that's cool. This is harder to do than people think. It's like really hard to do.
No, you make typos too. You're gonna. I almost left it and wasn't gonna tell you. I was like, no, that's me. I
wouldn't have found it. I wouldn't have found it. I've been looking at it forever. So if I did this right, then display data will actually loop over the current events, which is our event array of like Comic Cons and Hero Cons, and it'll loop over those and individually create a row and then write that to the table. And this is row after row after row. And that's all that loop is doing. I'm just using a templating feature to do it instead of like concatenating strings together, which I think is a bad approach.
Yeah, Mark was asking this on your final row there, on your final line where you're creating the new, you're right there. That data is Is it date or data?
Date.
There you go. Is date. Okay,
right.
Cool. I wasn't sure. Cool. Awesome.
Sometimes completion will do it for you.
Right.
So it's new date. And so like what it's going to do is we're gonna now write this to the page. So what I need to do is call this function somewhere. And so I need to call it pretty much every time I display my drop down. So every time this gets called from get events, every time we click on something, I'm going to go ahead and just call it in get events. Okay. Actually, I'm going to call it, excuse me, I'm going to call it in build. So like, let me go up here. Scroll up. I hate the upside down scrolling.
You can change that on a Mac.
I know. It's like you played video games, you know, and you have the reverse of like
and then you jump in a helicopter and you crash it because the things are reversed.
Friends shouldn't let friends do that. So we're going to call display data right here. And this is in my my build dropdown. So if you notice that over here on the index, build dropdown is called on page load. And so when I go to build dropdown on page load, I'm going to build my dropdown. I'm going to display the stats for the all in the first case or whatever's clicked on. And then I'm going to display the data.
Awesome.
It's kind of cool. So let's see if it works.
Let's see. The moment of truth.
I know. Hopefully that works. And you can see right here that there's our data.
Awesome.
But this didn't work.
Oh, okay. Good. Something didn't work. I was actually hoping it didn't work so you can fix it.
All right. So I've got an invalid date somehow. All right. And so we'll see what I did wrong here. I did something wrong.
I think it's that E. I just can't believe that there's an E in local. I just
okay. It's oh, duh. I didn't I did this wrong. So like it's not a date because I checked it on event. I didn't change that.
Oh, okay.
So it's date.
So that should be .date. Okay. I know. It's okay. It's I'm stuck on it, Alex. I can't get past the E. I just can't get past it. It's just wrong, even though it's right.
All right. Let me make sure I get the right page up here.
Hold on. I haven't been spelling local wrong the American way the whole time I've been here, have I? It doesn't always have an E on it, does it?
It can be either way, man.
It
can be either way.
So confusing.
It's like the word deer, you know, DEAR or DER.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, it's just this can be the same way.
Okay.
This is why kids don't pass English in high school because it's like, dude.
I don't know about kids. Me.
You can't even sound out the word school. You know, like it should be shul, but it's not. So it's just the way it is. So so that's kind of what we got. So that is our data set. So awesome. We're here at 15 minutes. I think we can get the add in. And then we can add something in here. So right now our add button doesn't do anything. So let's make an add, and then I think we're done.
Awesome.
All right. So so one of the things that we have to do is we have to go back over to our HTML, and we've got to add a modal. And I'm going to use a Bootstrap modal to do this, and I'm going to save a little bit of time. And I'm just going to copy some stuff from Bootstrap, and then we'll go over it because it'll take me 10 minutes to type it. And I think this will be easier. And I'll explain what a modal is.
Awesome. See, Beth's got my back. I'm right. Yeah. Code is poetry. Weird poetry. It's true.
That's funny.
It's true.
All right. So where we're going to put this is it sort of matters and it doesn't matter really because it's just going to pop it up on the screen. But I think it makes more sense if we put it right after this table. Okay. I'm just going to paste this in here and I'm going to look at it. There's just a lot to do in here. Okay. And so like you can see here, and again, if you go to Bootstrap and you don't know how to make a modal, you can just like cut and paste a modal and then just change the content that you want. But basically, it has to have this correct ID here because this button, we're going to change this button to reference this to pop it up. And then it has these classes, dialogue and content. And then each modal has a header or can have a header. It has a body. And I put this whole form in here. And then it has a footer. And then in the footer on our save button, we're going to call save event data, JavaScript function we're going to write. Okay. There's also an X up here too as well that doesn't call save. So you can just close it out if you want to. Okay. All right. But so let's change the button and get it to pop. So you can see here, data dismiss is at times. That's just an X.
So where did you grab this code from?
Bootstrap 4.
Okay. So you grabbed it straight from the website.
Yeah. And then I just changed the labels that I wanted and then the text that I wanted. Okay. And now I am using a form in here. And so I put in a form that I gave a name and a form group. But you don't have to. You could just put labels in there and input boxes. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Sometimes you're actually posting a real form back. We're not technically doing that. Like we're going to like pull it straight from JavaScript. But you can see here, just label and input. And then I have some controls on here that for the type date. And so it'll give you a calendar picker, except in Safari. And then a number picker where you can like only take in integers.
Does that really not work in Safari?
No.
Really?
No.
Wow. Okay.
And so if you're out there and you're a Bootstrap expert, you know, and you're saying I'm an idiot, maybe there's a way to like make this fail gracefully. What it does, it just gives you an input box and you have to type a date in.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy.
I'm really not going to focus in on like today, like how to validate this form. That would take us another day. And so like, this is just a straight up form it has to be right. We have to plug it in, but there's some validation that you could do on this form to make it better. So you mesh, if you're out there, I've given you something else to do. So like, you know, and so like you can validate this form. It does need to be validated. I haven't done that yet. So just trying to get this in.
We're keeping it simple.
Yeah. So I need to pop the button. And so like up here in my button, my add data button, I have to add some stuff in it to make it pop off. And all you do is you tell it what you want it to do. All right. And so the first thing you do, you give it a thing called a data toggle. And you just call it modal. And then the next thing you do is you give it a data target. And you reference the name of the modal in this one. So, and you use hashtag because that's the name. That's how you reference it, like in CSS. I just called it my modal. It's mu modal, but I called it my modal. And so you can tell I took this straight from Bootstrap. I could change this ID here to anything. But for now, that's what we're going to do. And I think this will pop my form up for me if I did everything right.
Let's see.
Let me pull this over. Here. See, now I have this whole.
Yeah, cool.
And so like if I click off here, it'll go away. If I click this X, it'll go away. And if I click this save, it's going to blow up because, but it'll go away. But it didn't do anything.
So the modal thing, that's a function of what? What is that a part of? That's a part of JavaScript, a part of Bootstrap? What is that?
Bootstrap is doing this, and they're implementing modals with Bootstrap, and there's also JavaScript that's doing parts of this, but it's all built into Bootstrap. It's called Bootstrap modals. A lot of people make modal stuff. There's also a lot of features to make sure that if I click outside, it won't do anything. It won't close. But for now, I've got my standard close events because if I don't click save, I really don't care.
Right.
I just want to do it. And you can see here, it's formatted because my form has a little cool drop down. This is HTML doing this. And the other ones are just straight text boxes.
I remember the days when you used to have to program that date in every time, right?
Yeah.
To make your own date picker.
Cool. Kind of works. So let's go to JavaScript and code our save event. And then I think we're done at that point. And we got 10 minutes, so we should be good.
We're good.
Yeah, should be good.
And if anybody has any questions while we're doing this last bit, put them in chat, and I'll go back up the chat and we'll answer them at the end.
I realize that this may be, some of you, this may be advanced, and you feel like you probably can't do this. What I want you to encourage you on is try to build this and then Google the things that you just don't understand. But I think it's pretty straightforward that you should be able to do it. And there's a lot of techniques in here that are kind of maybe borderline advanced, like the templating functions I'm doing, but it's better than like, I just want to teach you like how to concatenate a bunch of strings together.
Yeah.
That's really not a good way to do it.
Plus the fact that we're sharing the code too, everybody can go look at this as well, so you can play with it.
And that's the approach that we take at Coder Foundry, Kevin. It's not always we don't do the easy way. We do the correct way, or try to do the correct way of doing things, instead of like showing you, oh, here's the hacky way that's easy to understand, but it's not really the way you should do it.
Right.
So, all right. So the first thing I'm going to do in this save event is I'm going to grab the events out of local storage. So I'm going to add to this. Okay. So here I'm using it without an E. Anyway, so local, it's not locale. So I'm going to say my current events equals, and then again, I'm going to use the same thing to pull this out of local storage. Now, if you're coding a lot, I've repeated myself a couple of times doing this, and so you could actually code another function to kind of like not repeat yourself, not doing this over and over again. That's one thing you could do. But when I was doing this, it was just getting too much code for a demo. So you could write a get local function, a get local storage function that you call for your app all the time. I'm going to get it out of local storage, and then I'm going to put my same OR in here. This time I'm not going to do empty. I'm going to say, hey, if that thing is empty, give me all the events. I don't want an empty array. I want something with something in it. So either give me the defaults, which we've programmed up top, or give me what's in local storage the user has saved. Okay, either one. So again, if this comes back as null, that'll evaluate to false, and it'll go over to the true statement over here and grab the events. And the events is an array, the current stuff I set up. So I'm going to hit document dot get element by ID. I'm losing it here. And then what I'm going to do is I called it new event name. Let me go show you where this came from, because it may not make sense because I didn't cover that as much in the form.
Okay.
This is on the HTML side. So if I look down here, this right here is my new event form. Okay.
Okay.
And then I also have a label here, new event name. And then I have new event city. And you can see my pattern here, new event state, new event attendance, and new event date. So these are the individual things that are coming out. And so I just, I actually had an ID on the input, not on the label. So I'm pulling off the values out of these inputs, and they'll have an ID on them. Okay. So that's where you know where that comes from. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get my new event name. And then I'm going to create this. I'm going to create an object. And I'm just going to save it like this. Okay. Now, to get this to make sense is if you look at the very top of this file, you can see that each row is in these brackets. This is an object. Okay. So I want to set a new one of these in this array. So that's why I use brackets there. Okay. So let me go down to the bottom.
That makes sense.
Okay. And so what I'm going to do is get down here, and I'm going to say, let my object equal an empty object. And then I'm going to set them based on the name that I want. So you remember in our objects, they all had like what we call labels or properties. And so I'm going to name them that too. And that's just how I do it. And then I'm going to say document, get element by ID, new event name. Got ahead of myself and was typing ahead. I'm going to get rid of that other thing going over there. And I'm going to get the value out of the value out of the control. Okay, so I'm going to copy this 4 more times. I'm going to change it city, state, this city, and then I'm going to change this to state. I'm going to change this to attendance. I'm going to go back over here and change these out. So this is a new event. And you see how naming conventions help you, because I don't have to go back and reference that document because I named them the same. And I keep my casing the same. And even though you could like abbreviate something like attendance over state, I didn't abbreviate it just because I want them to be the same every time.
Yep.
And then I'm going to have to do something different with attendance here. Okay. Because it's coming out of a numeric field, and I don't want to set it as a string because I'm doing math functions on this. I had to parse this as an int. That's one of the things I had to do. And so I had to turn this into a number because I'm going to do math functions on it. So I don't want to want these to come back as values. Okay.
Okay.
Not strings.
So by default, that would come back as a string then if you didn't do this. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So
okay.
I just that's the parseInt thing. So I'm going to make sure that this is an int. And then I'm going to have to do something very similar to my date object here. So I'm going to change this to date. And the same thing I did before is like, I'm going to call it a new, not data, date. All right. And then I'm going to get my value out of new event date. And I'm going to get the value out of that, but I'm also going to go ahead and format it when it's stored so that it'll display correctly. And I'm going to use to locale date string. All right, so now we've got our object stored, and so that's pretty cool, right?
Definitely.
I don't need this. I think I'm just going to, I think I was using this to copy it, but like, I just need to, now I need to just save it.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm pulling off one. I'm just going to just call this current events. All right, so the current events is the data that's coming back, and I want to push this into this. So what we're doing here is, note to self is like, how do you add objects to an array? And someone will ask you that, and it's simply using the push command, and I'm pushing an object in there. And this is going to push it onto the bottom of the array. Now you can like insert them. There's a lot of other things you can do with this. You can do
it just makes it the last item, the last object in the array, right?
This is all I cared about for the purposes of here.
Yep.
And then once I've pushed it onto the array with arrays in memory, I need to now push it back into local storage so that it'll the thing that I typed in stay in there. Sort of like my database, but not really.
Okay.
And again, you have to make sure that you spell it correctly. And we use our JSON.stringify here. And you just push the current events in there. That's it. I think that's it.
Okay.
And then the last thing we do, I gotta do one more thing here because this is a bug I had to find out. I need to go ahead and call display data again so that I can rebind out there to the control.
Sorry, what does that part do again?
So what I did here, let's walk through it. So what I'm doing is I've got my modal up and I click the save button. I go to local storage and I get all of the events that are currently out there. And then I add one to the bottom. Then I set that to local storage equal to the all the events plus the new one. And then I redisplay the page.
Okay. Because otherwise it wouldn't show it.
Local storage again.
Yep. Because otherwise it wouldn't show it as being updated.
Up.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And so if I did this correctly, hopefully it is. I think I killed it. Let me just
let's see. And then we have some questions too. So we're going a little bit over, but we'll answer the questions at the end here. We won't jump off early.
Okay. Killed it again. I'm up in a. Give me 1 second here. When it pulls out, gotta drag it. And we'll answer some questions here. So like now, I've got the data in here. So this is my default data set. So let's add another Charlotte one. So it comes up here, and I'm going to call it Heroes Con. And then I'm going to add Charlotte. And I'm going to give it a state. Now, this is begging to have like...
yeah, there's no validation on any of these, is there?
Really, no validation. It's, whatever. I'm going to do it again. 20. All right, so 1,200 people are going to this one in 2020 because no one's going to Heroes Con after COVID-19. We had 40,000 last time. So hopefully if this worked, I should go down here, and now you can see I've got my new row down here.
Oh, minus the event name.
Here.
But that's so interesting.
Yeah, it is not cool, but we'll see here. So I've got a little bit of a bug here because it didn't save correctly.
Okay.
So let's go look and see what's going on there. Because I'm running over and I'm trying to do it too fast. So let's go to our SuperDog events, and I wonder if it's called event. Let me make sure. It's called event.
Okay.
Save. Okay, so we'll add another one over here now. It should work, and then we'll call it a day.
Yep. We'll still do some questions. Code out there. We'll get the questions.
Yeah.
So you just knew that by just to sort of find that bug, you just knew that it didn't have the event name, so you knew exactly where to go look to see that it wasn't, because it added a record, added the line, it just didn't add that one particular column.
And this is 02, 02, 20. Here. And then we hit save. And you can see now it added it in there.
There you go. Cool.
So that's kind of cool.
Very cool.
And if you refresh this, you can see now when I refreshed it, it's coming out of local storage to bring these records back. So it's in there. Okay. And awesome. I think I'm missing one bit of code in here to like go grab
update that part
in my clicked event. And I think I can fix that in a jiffy. So I need to just call my data. So like I need to call for get events. And this will all be up in GitHub. I need to go look and see what I did over here. So get events, it's not looking at local storage probably. Right. So get events is pulling back just the events here.
Okay.
And that's not what I want. So I'm going to just add this to pull it out of local storage here. So I'm just going to create another one called current events. I got my keyboard locked on here. Events equals, and then I want to just pull into my JSON parse. And you can see now why eventually you probably want to pull this out into like its own function, so it's a lot easier. So you're not typing this all the time.
Right.
Sometimes just to get it to work, you have to do it, and then you come back and refactor it a little bit.
Yep.
So again, here, if I don't have anything, I want to just pull back everything or the default. So that should be doing that. Then right here, I just, instead of setting it equal to events, I'm going to set it to current events. And what that'll do is we'll just save it, and then that'll make sure that it works.
Okay.
Click on it. So now when I click New York, got some data. And so now we've got a couple of Charlotte locations. We'll see what happens here. Got some bad data in there, but like Charlotte. Oh well, did something wrong. I'd have to go look at it. So like,
yeah, more time than we have here. Let's answer some questions. Before we maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. Anyway.
Yeah.
I just want to, first thing before we answer a question is we have this Nightbot thing now on here. So I don't know what you typed in here to get to do this, but it might be kind of strict on its spam thing. So if you type a lot of characters, it will stop you from putting that in the chat, just so you guys know. But let's answer some questions here. Mark says, when displaying the data, why isn't concatenation okay? You append rows instead.
So what I think is just an approach. I think you can concatenate rows all day. I think this is a more it's a more logical approach than putting strings together. And strings are fraught with problems when you have, if you see on my screen here, doing something like this, because you have to type it exactly right, and it just leads to issues and problems. And where if you're going on objects, it's just more bulletproof, I guess. It's a better way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Alex asked, and actually Mark answered this down in the question. He says, would this coding challenge be similar to what you would give prospective students?
No, it's we're doing this in the class. So this is what the coding challenges are, what people learn in the class.
Yeah.
And so the reason is these coding challenges come out from prospective employers. So we try to like show them what they can do with it and how they can solve them in a creative way.
Yeah, prospective students get some work to do, a little bit of JavaScript work. We have them publish a simple thing to Netlify and do a little 10 days of JavaScript thing, but it's not this. It's a simple to-do list thing that they generally do. It's below this.
It's a lot easier. We don't expect you to be an expert when you come in.
Right. Food Prep was asking if we have an online course available.
Not yet.
Not yet. We don't have an online self-paced course available. It's not something we have.
You can take kind of virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do have to be in the US to be able to do it.
Right.
Because it is live. It is sort of 9 to 6 daily East Coast time.
Right.
Betty says she's building a similar project. I was wondering if locale storage would work in there as well.
So what local
React,
storage is, yeah, so that's fine doing it in React. Local storage is, there's 3 ways that you could do this as a, what I would call a sample site or like a coding challenge, is you could use local storage so that when you add it and you kill the browser, when the person comes back, it's still there. The second thing you could do is you could actually write a file to disk and then read it off disk. If you look at our Notary project, we're doing that where we're actually writing books to disk and then pulling the books back. The third way is add a database. The benefit to local storage, it's personalized per user. And so like the user has their own little data set. And if you did a database, then it would be one data set behind the scenes. But if you're using React, I would put a database behind it. You know?
Okay.
All right. UMesh has got in here. I see UMesh.
Yeah, I'll see that at the end here. Dreka says that was neat to watch, so that's cool.
Well, cool. I'm glad I didn't bore you to death, so that's good. So
was that a joke?
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't bore Dracula to death. That's a good one.
Right.
That's exactly dad joke at its best.
That's a dad joke right there.
That's great. Yeah, Umesh, thanks for joining us. That's cool. Yes, and that's super cool. Thank you for your submission, and I'm glad you did.
Hey, make sure you keep it in your where you've got it hosted, and we're going to show it tomorrow.
Yeah, so come back tomorrow and we'll
a quick little demo of what you did. You had a new feature that I didn't have. We wanted to show you kind of what you added. So it's kind of cool.
Yep, very cool. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to do go over some submissions because Mark sent me an email. I haven't read it yet. I just saw what it was real quick. But Mark made a mobile version of this. So I'm guessing using Xamarin.
Made Xamarin? Okay, cool.
I guess. I don't know. I know he made a mobile version. So I'm guessing it's Xamarin. You can put that in the comments, Mark. So
yeah.
But I'm guessing it's Xamarin.
Right.
And let's see, what does the message say here? All stats averages 3 decimal places currently have an extra set around. Okay.
He's showing all my bugs out.
He's calling out all your bugs. So there you go. That's something else we can fix.
I need to send all my stuff to Umesh for QA. So here's and I get bug requests back, so that's cool.
So yeah, Mark says he has a full-blown Xamarin app version of this.
Nice.
That's awesome. Cool.
That's cool.
So yes, Mark, maybe we can arrange for tomorrow and you can jump on and show us a walkthrough of it. That'd be awesome.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
He admits he really went in the weeds.
No,
that's awesome.
Okay.
Super cool.
That's cool. All right. Awesome.
Neat. Okay. So we'll do that tomorrow. Amongst other things, I'm sure we'll just answer a bunch of questions and stuff tomorrow as well.
Right. I hope this is beneficial, and please send Kevin an email, if you want us to do other coding challenges. We would love, and you think it's good and you'd like to see them, we'll do another one. Sunset Hills is one we do here in the Coder Foundry that hasn't been covered on the channel yet. And that one's pretty interesting too, the way, especially the animation part of it, building the buildings. Yeah. Remember that? Yeah,
that's super cool. Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
No, it's super cool.
But we'll do that. Again, what we do is we try to go slow, so it may take us 2 or 3 days to get through some of these, but realistically, if you're just coding from front to back, you're probably spending a day on this, maybe half a day, 4 to 8 hours. If you're having to Google a lot, then it may take you 3 days. But hopefully it'll help. And I know that I've got a little bug in the current one I'm showing, but like it's completely working up on SuperDogEvents.coderfoundry.com if you want to check it out.
Yeah, let me put that on down at the bottom here again. There you go. SuperDogEvents.coderfoundry.com. And you can find the Git link there as well, and some other stuff on there as well.
Right. And but thanks for coming out, guys, and we'll see you sometime. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon, and we'll find some more interesting stuff. We got to get our guests in this week. Hopefully we'll have some guests in this week that you can talk to.
Yeah, we're still working with some people. If this is your first time here, you can check us out online. You can go to coderfoundry.com/job roadmap. You can sign up for our 5 steps to breaking in there. You can also go and check out our online virtual class, coderfoundry.com/virtual, and find out everything you need to know there about the actual bootcamp side of things that we do.
Right. So as we always say, good luck, guys, and keep coding.